Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, as I promised during last week's live stream where we did the very first Coral Pack giveaway, or the Veterans Coral Pack giveaway. I told you guys I would attempt to make a couple videos this month talking about PTSD, how it's related to the reef tank, talk about my story, and kind of go from there and see what happens. Now, the reason why I'm moving in this direction is because we are going to get back into the Reef Tanks for Veterans thing now that COVID has kind of calmed down a little bit. And I also implemented the monthly Coral Pack giveaway for veterans. So if you're a veteran and you're not already in that, go ahead and watch my previous videos on how to submit that information so you can be part of the drawing or the monthly drawing. So with that said, the other reason is I know that there's somebody out there that watches this and who's going through their own situation right now. There's a lot of firefighters, police, military, and then there's even those of you who had stuff happen when you were children or even recently in your life, and you're dealing with PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, and you watch this channel and you're probably using this hobby as a way to cope with it or to work through your problems or to just kind of have an escape from your situation. So I understand all of those things, and in this video I just want to give you guys a quick rundown on my life and kind of what happened. And I'm not going to go into specifics with combat missions and things that happened and all sorts of things that have impacted me and hurt me during those times, but I am going to give you guys a quick rundown of where I came from, why I joined the military, some things that happened, and kind of where I'm at now and what I plan on doing in the future. So with that said, a little disclaimer here, got a big old fat lip, so I'm going to be slurring. Black eye coming in, starting. I can just feel it. It's tender. Throat's jacked up, and my eyes are dry as shit. So, yeah. So if I'm a little weird today, yesterday was a rough day. Rough day in training for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It was a rough roll. Tuesdays are my long day. It's like 4 hours, and it's cold as shit outside, and it's just not a good. It's just a rough day. So, anyways, a little disclaimer there. Let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the video. So, where to start? When I was a child, well, as with a lot of people, I didn't really have the greatest life. I had a broken home, father in and out of jail, was an alcoholic, a druggie. My mom was by herself, kind of on the system, and we lived in a busted trailer park. I was kind of like the smelly kid in school because of cigars and cigarette smoke. I didn't really have a lot of friends. I had like 2 friends my whole high school career. Is it considered a career? Whatever high school is. And I kind of just stuck to myself, and I had a younger brother who was about 3 years younger than me. So we kind of just did our own thing and kind of just lived that life. Now, as I was growing up, dealing with all that stuff, I saw the people around me starting to go off into directions that weren't really good. Not only in my own life with my family, my dad, and being in and out of jail, but seeing close friends or well, I'd say, well, they're kind of friends or acquaintances, kids I went to school with, seeing these people either getting in trouble with the law or doing drugs or just not having careers that they wanted or jobs or just going in directions that weren't good. I knew I needed to make a decision. I needed to do something to change my life. I needed to break the chain of alcoholics and druggies of my life, and I needed to do something else. So with that, I decided to join the military, the Army, when I was 18 years old. So I went in and I decided that this is something I really wanted to do. I know that when September 11th happened, I remember I was in 7th grade, and I was sitting there and we saw the second plane hit, and I remember saying out loud to my teacher, Mr. Rice, which is rest in peace. I know he passed away a few years ago, but I remember saying, I'm going to join the military. And I was young. I was like, okay, well, I said that and I didn't really think about it. It was between going to the being a police officer or going into the military. I was going to do one of the two. So I decided when I was 18 that that's what I was going to do, and I did it. So I remember before I went off to MEPS, I was sitting there about to sign another 400 documents, and I remember the recruiter saying, hey, just so you know, you will be going to Afghanistan or Iraq in the next 3 years, guaranteed. And I was like, okay. When he said it, I was so hyped about moving on to this direction and going this direction in life that I didn't really care. I didn't think about what was going to happen or how it was going to impact my life. So I just signed it. It was like, good, let's go, let's do this. And sure enough, it happened. I was 20 years old, got called up to get deployed, went to Afghanistan, and I originally went into the military as a 19 kilo, I was going to be a tank crewman. Really had this thing about tanks. I mean, I loved Abrams, that's why I got a tattoo here. I really love them. I was just kind of fascinated with them as a kid, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So I went in, but unfortunately, we're not taking Abrams to Afghanistan. I mean, I don't think we did that ever. I mean, we had a hard enough time getting the Humvees on the side of the mountains. I couldn't even imagine an Abrams. But either way, so with that, when we moped up or got ready to go to Afghanistan, we kind of had to change what we were doing. So I essentially reclassed to 11 Bravo to a certain extent. I trained to be a Mark 19 gunner. It's basically a 30 millimeter grenade launcher. It's fully automatic. It's probably one of the most badass weapons in the history of badass weapons. But anyway, so I trained to be that. I knew I was going to be a gunner in Afghanistan. I didn't know the responsibilities as 20 years old. I didn't know what the responsibilities were going to be of that. I didn't know what the repercussions, if that's what I'm looking for, or the consequences of my actions and things that I would be having, decisions I would have to make, and how they would impact the rest of my life. Of course, you're 20 years old, you don't think about that stuff, right? That stuff doesn't matter. So went to Afghanistan, was a Mark 19 gunner. We did foot patrols and some outpost stuff, but other than that, that was my primary job. I was the second truck, and the first truck was always a 50 cal Mark 19, 50 cal Mark 19, and 50 cal Mark. It just kind of fluctuated, and then we threw in some other stuff like AT4s and what was the other one? I can't remember. There's a few other ones. I got a picture somewhere with all this shit that I used to have. It's been a long time. But anyway, we used to just kind of mix it up and roll that way. Now, I'm not going to get into too many specifics with combat missions and things that have happened, but needless to say, I've had to make decisions that have sat with me the rest of my life. There's things that I have had to see and do, and that are always going to be there, and they're always going to be knocking at the door, if that makes sense. So as much as I would love to dive into things and go in and out, I, as a grown-ass man, being 34 years old, it's been a long time since I was 20, and I spent my 21st birthday on the side of a mountain in Afghanistan. To this day, I'm still processing things. I'm still going through things. But either way, went through the deployment, dealt with that, dealt with people on the base, taking their own lives and dealing with things that happen with children, dealing with things that happen to battle buddies, hearing people cry themselves to sleep every night because, their baby mama decided to take their kid and run away and take, there's a plethora of things that have happened that are just always there, and they always sit with you. Now, I do remember at one point, I want to talk about this because it was a turning point in my life. I remember on one mission, and guys, I don't have an outline here, so if I'm bouncing around, I apologize, but I thought this was important to share. So I remember we were at one firefight, and we're getting attacked, and I could see, I'm the Mark 19 gunner, and I'm shooting, and no matter how much you clean this damn weapon, it jams up. It just happens. It's just, you gotta rack that shit back and keep going, right? And at one point, I was racking, and it just kept jamming. So I had to get up and stand on top of the turret, and I had to kind of like shake the frickin' thing and get everything out of it because we had a round jammed. Meanwhile, everyone's behind the trucks firing all this stuff, and I could see the rounds coming in. So whoever was up there shooting, they were walking that shit in, and it was just coming closer to the truck. And I remember sitting there, and I saw them coming at the corner of my eye, and I was up there fully exposed. I mean, I had the bulletproof vest, but I mean, what the hell is that going to do with a Dishka? I mean, that's basically the version, that 50 cal version, and I could see it coming. You could tell how big the round is, what kind of weapon they're shooting, if it's an AK-47, based on kind of how much dust gets bumped up, opposed to a 50 cal. It's a difference. But either way, I could see it coming in, and I remember the world just stopped. And I remember shaking this and looking up, and I thought to myself, this is it. I'm like, I'm done, and I'm okay with it. I was so miserable, and I hate to laugh. I laugh about it now because I'm like, man, you were 21 years old. What the hell were you thinking? But I was up there, and I was just waiting for those rounds to come in so I could get the hell out of here. And that was my only thought. I didn't care because I just wanted to leave. I was so miserable. I hated everything about being there. It went by really quickly, but I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I remember sitting there, and the rounds just stopped before they got to me for whatever reason. Maybe somebody got him on whatever. Maybe he ran out of rounds. Maybe that was God protecting me. Either way, I remember just shaking it. The round came out. It fell out. I got back down and then reloaded and continued to engage. And that thought sat with me for many, many years. Like, how did I get to the point where I was so ready and I accepted the fact that if that came in and took me out, I was okay with it. At 21 years old, I was completely okay, and that's how miserable I was and how much I hated everything about that place. So either way, I came home with that same mentality. It didn't go away. From that day forward, for many, many years, that's how I thought. That's how I lived in this world of, I felt utterly alone. Even with everybody around me. I had family, I had friends, but I felt alone. Like I didn't have anything. And well, with that, well, it breeds sadness, it breeds anger, it breeds loneliness, it breeds a lot of things in your life that really take you down a direction that's not good. And so I sat with that for many years. I remember when I came home, I was terrified to go outside. I didn't trust anybody around me. I didn't talk to anybody around me. I could hear people, but I felt like I was in this bubble. Like I felt like no matter what anybody said or how they encouraged me or how they tried to help me or how they tried to support me, it didn't matter. I was by myself, I didn't care, and I just wanted to be alone. Now, with that, I tried to make relationships work. I tried to move forward in my life. I ended up having a kid, and I tried to push it away. So I took everything and I pushed it away. And one thing I want to back up and say here is, this is something I learned through therapy, is, and we talked about this a few times, is I feel like everybody who goes in the military, how do I explain this? It's like, what happens to you before you go in the military is a big factor of how you turn out. So if you go into the military broken, so I feel I went into it broken to a certain extent, granted how my life was and how I was treated and how I felt about myself. I went into the military as a broken person, and then more things happened while I was in there that continued to break me. And I came out of the military, well, to be expected, broken, right? So now, since I've been out, I've been trying for years and years and years to kind of become who I am now, try to become a man, try to put the pieces of my life together. And I've been doing it wrong for a long time, and you know, this new therapy that I'm going through and all this stuff it's helping to bring all together. So my point of that is that I went into the military broken, and I came out broken, and now I'm at the point now where I'm able to kind of put the pieces back together. It's taken a long time, but it's working. So with that said, I'm trying to figure out where I left off. Oh yeah, so I'm home, and I am attempting to live life. So I had some crappy jobs. I didn't really have any friends. Again, I was by myself. To this day, I use food as a coping mechanism. So if I'm having a rough day, there's nothing in the world that makes me feel better than a giant pizza and some ice cream, right? Now, it feels good during the time, you know, while I'm eating it. It feels good while I'm, you know, doing that. And again, to this day, I still do it. You wonder how I got so in great shape. No, I'm just kidding. It's called starving yourself. No. I'm just playing. Don't do that. But either way, so I used food to cope. I never got into drinking, and I never got into drugs because I saw what it did to my father. So thankfully, I didn't go that direction to try to cope. But I used food as that. So I gained a ton of weight when I came home. I think I came home at like $180, just with raccoon eyes. I remember seeing pictures of just like how shitty I looked. But came home, and then I just ate myself to almost death. I got almost 300 pounds. Just a couple years after I got home, and I was awful. I wish I could find a picture of it. I'm sure I got an ID here somewhere with that, but I mean, I was in such a bad place. Getting to therapy was a job in itself. Just trying to leave the house, get up the energy and the courage to just get in the car and go to therapy. That was the issue. Of course, I couldn't keep a job. I couldn't do anything. Couldn't keep a relationship together. And meanwhile, I had a kid and trying to deal with all that stuff. It was a mess. It was not a life that I wanted to live, and I did that for many, many years. And then thankfully, I ran into a good friend of mine, Kenny, who introduced me to the church, introduced me to successful men, and kind of I started that about 8 years ago, about 8 years ago, 7 years ago. Time frame's a little weird, but between 6 and 8 years ago, I kind of went into that and started being around people that were successful and doing something with their lives and could reach back and help, alongside with therapy and all sorts of things. And then so I feel like it's been so long. It's been a long time since it happened, but I feel like it's still like yesterday. I'm coming out of this, I would say, to a certain extent, but I still feel like if I close my eyes now, I'm literally back there. And like if I smell gunpowder, I'm at the range or something, I'm back there. It's crazy how those things trigger. I'm bouncing around here. I'm trying to gather my thoughts in a way that I can move this in a different direction so we can get towards the reef tank stuff. But either way, I was going through all that stuff, trying to build my life back together, and then I found the hobby. And that's what we're talking about here. Found the hobby. And granted, I was in freshwater plants for the longest time before I joined the military, and I kind of dabbled in it a little bit when I came back, just as I have a tank up kind of thing. And then I kind of found the saltwater hobby and moved into that. Had some good friends. Brian's, good rest in peace to him. He helped get me into this and go down the right direction and help me with rock and all sorts of stuff. So I really miss that guy. But either way, the saltwater hobby is kind of when I really dove into it. I know that's kind of like is that kind of punny when it comes to this water stuff? But when I literally dove into this hobby, I went into it with everything. And I am an all or nothing type of personality. Either I'm doing everything I need to do, or I'm not doing jack shit. That's just kind of my personality. It's got its good sides and its bad sides. So when I started the hobby, I had a 25-gallon tank, and then I moved up to a 55-gallon, and then I moved to a 125, and then another 125, and then we're here with a 300. So I've been here for about 6 years, 7 years, something like that. 6 years. I don't know. It's something, 5 or 6 years. But either way, I've used this hobby as not only a means to escape from my thoughts and my emotions and my feelings, but also as a way to provide for myself, to be able to survive. If you guys know, I sell coral, I got 3D printing, all sorts of stuff, and it has changed my entire life. What I tell people is if you're just getting into the hobby for the reasons of just trying to escape or trying to find a way to cope with your thoughts or just trying to distract yourself, don't try to have a 300-gallon the first time. You'll be surprised what just a little 25-gallon tank will do for you. I remember when I set up my first one, the feelings that I had when I was in there and I was working in the tank and I was cleaning it and taking care of the rock and the corals and going through the whole experience and just being inside the hobby. All those thoughts, all those feelings, all that wanting to escape, all the loneliness, all that stuff, that went away. Even if it was temporarily, as I was in the hobby and as I was working and taking care of the tank, it was still a relief. It was still a break. So I would say if you are either just coming to this video because, I don't know, it just came up in your feed for some reason, and by the way, everything is for a reason. So if you're here and you're trying to, I only got freaking 4 minutes left to talk and my phone's going to turn off, so I got to finish this up. But so if you're here and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, or if you want to be in the hobby, or if it's something, if you're on the edge of maybe I should do this, maybe I shouldn't, and you're dealing with things and you have PTSD for whatever reason, if it's military, police, firefighter, or just your life in general, I would say give it a go. Don't dump your whole savings into it. Don't go into it 100%, but set up a small tank, get started, enjoy the hobby, do the research, and just enjoy the ride. There's a lot of us who get so caught up in the biggest and best things and having the greatest equipment and being the best YouTuber in the world, which I gave up on that a long time ago. I gave up on that the last time I got demonetized. No, the very first time, sorry. But yeah, so I would say as a word of encouragement, if you're just kind of dabbling into this and you're trying to figure out if it's something you really want to do and you're still dealing with life and things and trauma and things that you have going on in your head and around you, do it. I would say that starting off with a small release or a small escape or even just something to distract you for, even if it's only 20 minutes a day while you're testing your water, take it, because those 20 minutes will add up, right? Everything, small steps in every direction. Small steps will improve your life. And it's a book that I read, Tiny Habits. I think I'll put a link to it there. But it's basically start off small, go slow, enjoy the ride. And if you get 20 minutes of distraction or 20 minutes of relief or 20 minutes of not having to think about it or not being part of the drama or the pain in your life, take it. Do it every day. Do it every other day. That time will add up, and then you will move in and you will find other ways of coping, and you will find other ways of being mentally healthy, and you will get through it. So I know that we're running out of time. I wanted to go longer, but again, I only have about a minute left before my phone runs out of space to record. And yeah, so I guess my future now is to progress through the hobby. I have moved on to other hobbies like jiu-jitsu and other stuff like that, because when you turn a hobby into a business, it does take away that distraction, that aspect of trying to use it as an escape. Even though the job is really busy down here, so I do have a lot to keep me busy. But the point is, if you're ready to move forward and you're ready to do something to kind of progress through whatever you might be going through, this hobby is a good start. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can dive in and just enjoy the ride. Like I said, if it's 10 minutes of relief, 20 minutes relief, or 30 minutes of just being distracted from whatever might be haunting you, Just do it, okay? You'll be okay. I mean, I don't want to go on with all the sentimental stuff, but trust me, everything takes time. It's been how many years, okay? It takes time. So with that said, guys, I got 10 seconds left. Hopefully you enjoy the video. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you later. Peace.